Hi, and welcome to the n8n Spotlight, an initiative from the n8n community giving you insights about product updates, news, and community builds. I'm Mario, and this is my co-host Bram. So let's jump right into the product updates. Bram, what do you have on your list?
I have some awesome features. Some were added actually a long time ago. So for example, the webhook node now supports multiple outputs. This was actually added in April. I did know that it was coming, and I did actually know that it was added, but I never noticed it because it is hidden in this settings view. So if you disable this, you will not see it anymore. Um, and it is normally disabled. So you just enable it and then you have multiple options and just have multiple outputs and one per method. Another nice thing that we got added a couple of months ago already is that when you start typing with an equal sign, that it converts it to an expression, which is very nice, but it used to be that you did not keep the focus on the field, so you could not just start typing with the equal sign and then make your expression like this, for example, JSON, whatever. But now it actually keeps the focus, so it's actually usable to get working with it faster. We also have a couple of features for the next release. So it's actually released now or just about to be released. So one thing that was fixed was that when you add a wait node within a workflow, the respond to webhook node was not working. And at this point, it's actually fixed. So you can actually send something and then it waits for the response to come back to you. Also, a nice feature that some people might have missed is the extra parameter that you can put in the URL, which looks something like this when you get it returned. So in this case, I put in ID is thanks, or just thanks in the URL, and then it just passes that on, which is very useful. You can see it here. And then I put thanks in that field. We also have a feature coming where you can drag stuff into a code editor. Usually you could do this with normal text fields, but with some of the code editors, you could not do it yet. But now you can actually just put it in, which is very lovely. Sadly, it does not work yet if you have the code with run once for all items, so you cannot drag it here, but it does work when you do it per item. So hopefully that will also come in the future, but for now it only works if you run per item. And then Mario has some very nice AI features as well.
Yeah, right. Let me take over with the AI part. So first of all, we got a new vector store as an option. It's Postgres. It's pretty handy. Then in the text classifier, now we have an option which enables autofixing. We maybe know this feature from the autofixing for the output parser. It's quite similar, but it's built in right into the text classifier because this has no options for an output parser. The OpenAI model got a new setting to limit the maximum tool calls, which prevents from unnecessary calls. If maybe the instructions are not clear enough, then it would iterate endlessly. Then the code tool got also a new feature, which is that you can specify the input schema. It's also a feature we already know from the structure, and there are two options. Either you define the schema itself, or you give an example, which then gets interpreted to a schema automatically. Within the OpenAI models, there is now also the option to select the O1 models. In this demo, I can't show because my account does not offer the O1 model through the API yet, but the moment it is available in your account, it will automatically show up here as well. And there is one tip I would like to mention I found out, which is that if you use the click wheel to drag around things on the canvas, nodes get also dragged. So this is quite annoying, and it's also the problem if you use the control or command key with the left mouse click, then also these move if you are on a node. But to solve this issue, you can just use Command and the right click, and then you can drag around the whole canvas, including all the nodes. So this is all for the product updates. And now I would like to switch to the news. There is one feature the n8n team is working on. It is to be able to use the nodes we are all familiar with and which are easily accessible and already have many settings you can just select right away to use with these tools agents directly. Because at the moment we have two options to either use the call n8n workflow tool, which requires to maintain separate workflows. But then you have to switch between tabs and it can get quite complicated. And for that, as alternative, they introduced then the HTTP request tool, which is very powerful, but then you have to work with the APIs directly, and it's not that comfortable as with the predefined nodes. And that's why the n8n team is now working on a way to connect these nodes directly to an AI agent. How this will look, we don't know yet, but it should be available shortly, as we heard. Now let's switch to our last topic, which is community builds. Like Bram, we talked about that for the first episode. We would show the people how community nodes can be found, how they can be installed, what they are, before we showcase one community node after the other, which might be interesting to know about.
Yeah,
Would you like to give us a short demo how to do that?
yeah, of course. So within n8n, you have the option to install community nodes. So for example, one of these, it's one of mine, but you of course have to install them. You can do that by going to your settings. And this is only on self-hosted, not on cloud. So keep that in mind. So here in the settings, you have community nodes. Only the owner of the actual environment can see this. And then we can install a node like this. So if you have the name, you can just put it in, but you can also browse. And then you see that there's a lot of packages. And then of course you can find a node. So for example, this, you can see that it found 8 packages from the community nodes with the word credentials. With a name like this, so for example, this one, oh, it's actually one of mine. You can put it in here. You of course understand the risks because it's someone in the community that made it, but normally there's no problem. And then you can just install it. It used to be that when you had queue mode enabled on your instance, you could not install the nodes through this UI. You had to do it on the server itself. But now it will automatically install nodes that it cannot find on your main instance, on your worker instance, on your webhook instance, whatever. It will just install it if it cannot find it, which is very helpful to have it with the UI instead of having to go through the server itself.
Maybe it's also worth mentioning that if nodes do not appear after installation, that it is a good practice to clear the browser cache. Yeah, so let's finish up here for today. To the viewers out there, let us know down in the comments below what you think about this new format. We would love to hear feedback. See you next time. Until then, happy flowgramming.